Hey guys, Dagan here. Welcome to my little fine studio, and the light is shining through the window because that only means one thing: the world is lighting up because Blackstar have released the Amped 2, a wonderful little red box of joy. And I've already got a video on the PMTV UK YouTube channel where I go in depth with this wonderful little thing. But if you're not familiar with the PMTV UK channel, in this video I'm going to be going through my favourite parts of the Amped 2. As a long-time user of the Amped 1, this is just that, but with so many more lovely features and added goodies. I'm talking about my favourite parts and how I'm going to utilise it in my pedal board. Because I'm going to use this picture, as you can see right now, this Amped 2 for a very bloody long time. As you can imagine, I get my pick of things. I get to play so many pedals and so many amplifiers and so many awesome things. And I do love a lot of them, but I don't always utilise them in my day-to-day life for gigging every weekend. This is a mainstay. This is a game changer. I love it. Let's get into it. I was going to pick it up and show you, but seeing as I've already got one camera, you just have to look at that picture and I'll talk you through it whilst playing through it. So the Amped 2 from Blackstar's lovely Department 10 division is a 100 watt pedal board amplifier, full 100 watts. You can tone it down if you want to 20 watts or 1 watt, but 100 watts. 3 channels. I've been saying 3 channels, but it's 3 voicings you can have. You can either have a USA voicing, a UK voicing, or a classic voicing, classic Blackstar voicing. Well, I'll show you. This is the USA. The gain on these are all 3/4 of the way up, and all the EQ is at 1 o'clock. So kind of like a USA Fender kind of mumbo jumbo. In the UK, you have a more British voicing. That kind of thing, but the classic, which wasn't on the original Amped 1, because I used to use the UK on the Amped 1, that I'm now upgrading to the Amped 2, the classic is the classic Blackstar voice. And as you may know, I'm a long-time lover and user of Blackstar, so much so that they've made me an artist, kindly, hence why I'm doing this video on the Amped 2 right now. I'm very bloody happy I'm doing it. Don't know what the riff was, but it was bloody good. They've got a classic voicing, so it's a classic Blackstar voicing. Previously it was just the UK, USA and flat, but now you get a classic Blackstar. And unlike the Amped 1, where there was a few different valve type responses you could choose from, like going through all the valve responses like KT88, 6L6s, 6V6s, EL34s, EL84s, all that kind of jazz, to give you different kind of valve tones, dynamics and responses. There's only 3 on the Amped 2, but luckily they're 3 of my favourites, and in my mind 3 of the most popular. EL34, EL84 and 6L6. Now if you're wondering how you're hearing this, it's coming through the XLR cab rig output of the back of the Amped 2. Now you can run the Amped 2 in a few different ways. You can either run it in conjunction with some pedals and use it as like a preamp kind of thing, but I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. They're either going to use it the way I use it or this way. You can run it into a cabinet. You can run this little amplifier directly into a cabinet. You can power a full-on cabinet on stage with the Amped 2. That's game changer right there. That's absolutely game changer. You can just rock up to a rehearsal room, a venue, and if they've already got cabs and stuff, you haven't got to worry about bringing a big old head and stuff. Just carry your pedal board, essentially. And again, I'm going to talk about how I'm utilising this in my pedal board in the future. With the cab rig, it's a balanced XLR out on the back of it. There's 3 inbuilt cabs to choose from. Hi. My cat's just walked in. 3 different inbuilt cabs to choose from Blackstar's cab rig. Now Blackstar have some amazing tech where you can USB this into your computer and use the Blackstar Architect software to mess with parameters that you can't see on the front of the unit, and their cab rig software where you can change and manipulate these cabs, these virtual cabinets within the Amped 1 or the Amped 2 or whatever. You can change the size of the cabinet, the speakers in the cabinet, the microphone, the axis of said microphone, the distance, all that kind of jazz. I like doing that to demonstrate the Amped products from Blackstar, but from the factory I've never once changed them. I like the second one. It was the same on the Amped 1. So this is the first one with the same tone I've used before. This is the first virtual cabinet. This is the third one. This is the second one. That's my favourite right there. But if you wanted to manipulate them, change parameters, or change them completely into running through 1x8 speaker cabinets or whatever your heart desires, you can do that by plugging into not the Architect software, the Cab Rig software. If you want to mess with the Architect software, that's what I'm going to come on to next. Because the main feature of the Amp 2 as opposed to the Amp 1 is the fact that it has lots of lovely effects built into it. There's a boost section with a boost, an overdrive, and a fuzz. There's a modulation section with a chorus / flanger, a phaser, and a tremolo, and a delay. It has got reverb in. The original one had reverb in as well, the Amp 1. The Amp 2 has reverb with a couple of different options. The delay, was it analog, linear, and shimmer to get a wonderful kind of shimmer effect. It's the same with the reverb. There's room, spring, and plate. So the tone you've been hearing as of yet is that classic with the EL34s, and I mentioned that before. Cab Rig 2 with none of the boost, modulation, or delay on besides in the intro. Add a bit of delay. Everyone loves a good little bit of delay, don't they? So that's just simply, I've got the analog, I like the analog, and well, again, segueing into the word analog. I love the amped stuff because it's set up like an analog amplifier. This, especially the Amp 2, does a lot, but there's no screens with internal menus. There's no jiggery pokery with having to mess with things and hold down buttons while you switch certain things. It's laid out like an analog amplifier, straight up. So like I said, bass, middle, treble on the amplifier section of it, sorry, I should say, and all the effects have the parameters that you would change. Like the main parameters you would change, like the rate and the depth of the modulation, the tone and the drive of the boost, the feedback and the rate of the delay. Super easy to sort out. And again, if you want to manipulate other things, Blackstar's Architect software, plug it in. That's what I was segueing to earlier. Getting ahead of myself here, but you can do so much. Literally plug in and play. You haven't got to worry about anything. Just it's like Fisher-Price. It's like a Fisher-Price kid's toy in the best possible way. I'm a very simple guitar player, and I need simple things, and this just fucking nails it, but without any of the screens and stuff. So that's the with the bit delay. Let's turn on some drive now. There's three different kinds of drive. There's the boost, the overdrive, and the fuzz. The boost doesn't really add anything seasoning-wise. A boost is just kind of a clean boost. It boosts the signal, pushes the front end a bit more to give you a bit more sizzle, a bit more sustain, and give you the kind of the foothold you need if you want to start that kind of boost for solos, right? Not really a volume boost, but kind of. So that's what's classed as the boost. So it boosts the front end. Overdrive will add a little bit of seasoning. It'll tear up the edges a little bit as opposed to just boosting it. So this is switching down to overdrive. The drive controls and the level controls are all at noon, halfway up. Back to regular. That's with a bit of drive, so you can feel the hair on it. Put a bit of delay on that. Bob's your Uncle Fanny's around. That's a great clean tone right there, isn't it? Great lead tone. Even without the bit of... Getting carried away a little bit. So that's the drive section. I like having the boost on. I like having the boost on for a little bit extra sizzle. Sometimes in my cover band, we'll play not so boosty distorted songs, like Breakfast at Tiffany's, say, at someone's wedding. I'll still turn the boost on and have a bit of fun with it. It's kind of what it is. It makes everything sound that little bit much better. Go back to the boost. Not the original sound doesn't sound very good. Actually, in this original tone, this core tone, it's extremely dynamic, this little guy. So, I'm not much of a pedal switcher for clean tones and stuff. I like getting a clean tone from the distorted tone I've already got. Pretending I live in 1985 and I have a big modified amplifier which hasn't got a clean channel. That's how I like to pretend I'm on stage and play guitar, okay? So, what I love about this is the fact that it cleans up with the volume control. You'll see in a minute again when I talk about my pedal board how I utilize this. I don't actually like using the volume control on my guitar, but you'll see that shortly. So that's a bit of that. Let's put the boost back on. Talk about the modulation. It's got a flanger in it, not flanger, it's got a phaser in it. It has got a chorus slash flanger, but the phaser. You might know that my favorite sound effect in the world, guitar effect, is a phaser, because how did I do that without looking? That's how good this Blackstar is that you play Rupture without even looking. It's got a phaser in it with the depth and the rate and the volume. I'm so pleased it's got a phaser. Like, a phaser is my favorite effects pedal, so. But not only that, I don't really use the phaser much. I use the chorus and flanger. So that's the chorus flange. It's not as intense and as sharp as a phase sound. I use it when I want to turn off that boost, put a bit of delay on, and for a clean sound. That kind of thing right there. But again, as you might know, I'm a big fan of 80s stuff besides the turn the phaser on for solos. So if I want to turn the level down a bit, but keep that, just so it's a subtle kind of chorus in the background. Maybe a bit of delay off the riffs. A little bit of chorus there doesn't really harm me if you want to get your 80s on. The boost on back on. It does still clean up. Lovely about the boost on, so it's kind of like it cleans out with a little bit of hair. So if kind of. I just realised I forgot to talk about the fuzz effect in the overdrive section. So there's a fuzz. I use the fuzz all the time in this because I don't own a fuzz, but every now and then it's just fun to go like. Fuzz is a lot of fun. So that was the fuzz at like 10 o'clock. This is at max, because why not? You know, I do love a good fuzz, and people that use fuzz subtly is just awesome. But I think fuzz should be just used stupidly. Like it's a gnarly effect. I think all the fuzzes I've ever owned or used, like the Fuzz Face, ZFX Fuzz Factory, that's something different, I guess, or a Big Muff, just max it, max the volume, max the drive. The tone is suited to your taste, obviously, but just max it. It's a fuzz pedal. It's supposed to sound absolutely crackers. Anyways, the last little bit of funkiness on it is the good old tremolo. A bit of tremolo, you can't go wrong with a bit of trem. Let's do this. So that's the trem. Everyone loves a good trem every now and then. The last few things I want to talk about is the fact that there's a cool freeze function on the reverb. So you can hold it down and it'll actually freeze the notes. Check this out. That's me holding my foot down on it. Let your foot off to put it back to normal. There's also a built-in tuner, which is meant to hold down the reverb and the delay. A little tuner comes up on that wonderful little screen, which shows you all the parameters as well when you mess with things. And yeah, that's a little overview and some tones from the Amp 2. Now let's talk about how I'm going to utilize it in the world of my pedalboard. Right, welcome to the floor. Before we will plug directly into the Amp 2, now I've got it running through my pedalboard, and it's the last thing in the chain. This is my pedalboard for the future. It's quite cool to see. I've just set it up and I'm absolutely stoked to bits. This is literally all I need. This is all I need to demo guitars for work. This is all I need to play gigs with at weekends, whether it be small pub shows or big stage venue gigs, festival shows and stuff. This is everything right here, and a lot of that comes down to the Amp 2. Now let me talk you through it. So the first thing I hit is my volume pedal, the Dunlop Volume X. Now, do you know before I was saying I like cleaning up the tone with the volume of my guitar? I don't like doing that. I like using the volume pedal itself because I like doing swells and stuff. So when I want a clean tone, and I want to bring it back in, that's what I hit first. Then going into the bass wah. I'm trying to get around the tripod here. I use a bass wah instead of a guitar wah, if you can't tell, because of a Lindy from the band Him. And it's not only spring loaded, but it just sounds absolutely crazy. So there's a bloody cyborg dying. I've got an MXR 6-band EQ next. Not because I want to EQ the Amp 2 or anything, but I like that kind of, do the radio kind of sound, like the... It's probably not set up perfectly right there, but I like that kind of old school radio noise, like in pop punk songs and stuff. This micro amp I've got going in the effects loop of the Amp 2 because I use this for a solo boost, and I'm I'm very active with the knob up top. I'm always moving it back and forth depending on how loud or how quiet I want the solo to be, because say if I'm soloing behind someone singing just for a little lead line, I want a bit of a boost, but I don't want to overpower it. If I want to overpower it, I just max it. So this might max the system, but yeah, that's my solo boost. It's a lot of fun. Saying I don't use the phaser in the Amp 2 because I've got this limited edition black and white MXR Phase 90, the Van Halen one, and I'm a huge Van Halen fan, so that's there if I want it. Oh, I forgot to talk about the top pedal, and I just kicked the tripod stand. This up here is a heavily modified Electro Harmonix Octava multiplex. It's got some mods in so it stays at unison volume and it kind of tracks a little bit better. It's really funky. It is just the, that's why I put a CKY sticker on. It's a CKY sound, it's the hymn sound, it's the whole. So that is the Octava multiplex. As you can see, my pedal board's kind of like comprised of my idols. So there's Van Halen, the CKY, there's him. It's a lot of fun down there. Moving swiftly over to a drive that I like. And now the Amp 2, like I said, has got those wonderful drives in it, but I like using the fuzz. It works great with drives. Like, if you want to use your own drives with it, it'll just absolutely lap them up. It's a great pedal platform. Like my clone copy, the Centura by Seriatone. The gain's quite far down, just adds a little bit of seasoning on top. For solos and stuff, it's not all the time. Normally that goes on, the boost goes on, and this goes on. Mixture of styles going on there, but it was a lot of fun. You get the gist, and that's it. That's my board. You can control MIDI with the Amp 2 as well. I've got no MIDI going on, but that's the crack. You can power some pedals from the Amp 2 as well. There's 9-volt adapters on the 9-volt outputs on the back, I should say. You can power extra pedals, but I use a Strymon Zoomer on this lovely D'Addario Expand pedal board. Yeah, that's it. If you want to check out the tuner, you hold down these two lovely guys together, and that little display tells you what's what. As you can see, I'm incredibly flat. And if you want to alter any parameter, you can see all the parameters changing on the little screen. Let's end with some fuzz, because we can. I hope you enjoyed the video, folks. I'll see you next time.